Tensions between Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Benjamin Netanyahu have surged dramatically, pushing the already fragile relationship between Ankara and Tel Aviv toward what many analysts describe as one of its most volatile phases in years. The latest escalation centers on a controversial move, a new Gaza-bound flotilla reportedly being organized in Turkey, just days after Israeli forces intercepted an international aid convoy attempting to break the long-standing blockade on Gaza. The development has injected fresh uncertainty into an already tense regional environment. The Middle East remains deeply strained by overlapping crises, the Gaza war, rising regional proxy tensions, and fragile diplomatic efforts struggling to hold. Against this backdrop, relations between Turkey and Israel have deteriorated sharply, with both sides abandoning the cautious language that once defined their interactions. The war of words between Erdogan and Netanyahu has intensified in recent weeks, with both there's openly trading accusations. Israeli officials have accused Turkey of contributing to instability, while Ankara has sharply condemned Israel's military operations in Gaza, portraying them as disproportionate and devastating to civilians. At the center of this confrontation is Gaza, a territory that has become both a humanitarian crisis and a geopolitical flashpoint. The issue has long shaped Turkey's rhetoric and foreign policy positioning, and it now sits at the heart of a renewed diplomatic clash. Just days ago, Israeli forces intercepted a flotilla of vessels carrying activists and humanitarian aid toward Gaza. The ships were stopped in international waters and dozens of activists were detained, sparking international criticism and reigniting debate over the legality and morality of the blockade. The interception triggered global outrage and morality of the blockade. Governments and humanitarian organizations voiced concern, while activists accused Israel of violating international law and preventing urge. Badly needed aid from reaching civilians. Turkey's reaction was especially strong. Officials in Ankara labeled the interception as piracy, a word that signaled not just condemnation but a sharp escalation in tone. The accusation reflected how seriously Turkey views such operations and how central the Gaza issue has become to its foreign policy identity. Israeli authorities, however, defended their actions, insisting the blockade is necessary to prevent weapons from reaching Hamas. Officials argued that humanitarian aid should pass through established channels and that unauthorized flotillas undermine security measures. Now, in what appears to be a direct response, reports indicate that a new flotilla of around 20 ships is being prepared in Turkey, with the potential to sail toward Gaza in the coming days. This development has raised alarm bells across diplomatic and military circles. Israeli defense officials are already preparing contingency plans to intercept the convoy if it proceeds. At the same time, diplomatic channels are reportedly working intensively to prevent the flotilla from setting sail, highlighting the seriousness of the situation. The stakes are high. Unlike previous incidents, this flotilla is emerging at a time when tensions between the two countries are already near breaking point. Analysts warn that even a minor miscalculation could trigger a direct confrontation. President Erdogan has consistently positioned himself as one of the most vocal international critics of Israel's actions in Gaza. His government has framed the issue not only as a humanitarian crisis, but also as a matter of moral responsibility and regional stability. In recent remarks, Erdogan emphasized the urgency of addressing the crisis and maintaining international attention on Gaza. Recep Tayyip Erdogan said the humanitarian tragedy continues in Gaza, underscoring Ankara's continued focus on the issue and its intent to keep pressure on Israel through both diplomatic and symbol. Life means. Turkey's leadership has also hinted at broader geopolitical concerns, warning that ongoing conflicts could spiral into a wider regional war if left unchecked. Such warnings reflect Ankara's attempt to frame the Gaza crisis within a larger narrative of regional instability. From Israel's perspective, the flotilla is not simply a humanitarian mission. It is seen as a political provocation that challenges its sovereignty and security framework. Prime Minister Netanyahu has taken a firm stance, defending the naval blockade and dismissing flotilla efforts as ineffective at best and dangerous at worst. His government has made it clear that it will enforce the blockade regardless of international criticism. Following the interception of the previous flotilla, Netanyahu made a controversial remark that drew widespread attention. Benjamin Netanyahu said, "Continue seeing Gaza on YouTube," a statement that was widely criticized but also reflected Israel's dismissive view of such myths like ions. The comment highlighted Israel's broader message. that symbolic gestures will not alter its security policies or its control over access to Gaza. The rhetoric between Ankara and Tel Aviv has grown increasingly personal and confrontational. Accusations have gone beyond policy disagreements and now reflect deeper mistrust between the two governments. Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan recently escalated the verbal clash with a pointed statement. Hakan Fidan said Israel cannot live without an enemy, suggesting that Israel is deliberately positioning Turkey as its next adversary, following tensions with other regional actors. Such statements reflect a deeper shift in relations, from strategic rivalry to open hostility. What was once a complicated but functional relationship has increasingly turned into a direct confrontation. This is not the first time a Gaza flotilla has triggered a crisis between Turkey and Israel. In 2010, a similar incident led to a major diplomatic break, with long-lasting consequences for bilateral relations. Although ties were eventually restored, the underlying tensions never fully disappeared. The current situation suggests those unresolved issues have resurfaced, now amplified by the ongoing Gaza conflict. What makes the present moment particularly concerning is the growing possibility of direct confrontation. Israeli officials are actively preparing for the possibility of intercepting the new flotilla, while Turkey has not ruled out stronger measures to support such missions. The combination of military readiness and political pressure creates a volatile environment. For the first time in years, analysts are openly discussing the risk of a direct clash between Turkish and Israeli forces. Even if unintended, the Turkey-Israel standoff does not exist in isolation. It intersects with broader regional tensions, including the ongoing Gaza conflict, shifting alliances, and rivalries involving multiple regional powers. Both countries are influential actors in the Middle East, and their confrontation could have ripple effects far beyond Gaza. Some analysts believe Israel increasingly views Turkey as a strategic competitor, while Ankara sees Israel's actions as part of a broader destabilizing pattern. Despite the public escalation, there are signs that diplomacy remains active behind the scenes. Officials from both sides are reportedly engaging through intermediaries to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. The objective is clear: avoid a repeat of past crises, or worse, a military incident that could escalate beyond control. However, the success of these efforts remains uncertain. Domestic politics also play a significant role in shaping the current situation. In Turkey, public support for Gaza is strong, and Erdogan's firm stance resonates with a large segment of the population. In Israel, security concerns dominate public discourse, and the government's hardline approach is supported by those who view the blockade as essential for national defense. These internal pressures limit the room for compromise, making diplomatic solutions more difficult to achieve. Perhaps the greatest danger lies not in deliberate escalation, but in miscalculation. A single incident, a misunderstanding at sea, or an unexpected confrontation could quickly escalate into a broader crisis. Past flotilla incidents serve as a warning of how rapidly such situations can spiral. Today, with tensions already at a peak, the margin for error is even smaller. All eyes are now on Turkey and whether the flotilla will proceed. At the same time, Israel's response will be critical. Any decision whether to intercept or allow passage will carry significant consequences. The current crisis may represent a turning point in Turkey-Israel relations. What was once a complex but manageable relationship has evolved into open rivalry, with Gaza at the center of the dispute. The flotilla has become more than a humanitarian mission. It now symbolizes a broader geopolitical struggle between two regional powers with competing visions and priorities. The unfolding situation is a stark reminder of how quickly regional tensions can escalate, with both sides firmly entrenched in their positions and with Gaza continuing to dominate the narrative. The risk of further escalation remains high. For now, diplomacy serves as the only buffer preventing a deeper crisis. But as events continue to develop, uncertainty persists over whether this confrontation will remain contained or expand into something far more serious.